there, and welcome. Thanks so much for tuning in to check this one out. This is just going to be an overview of some lesson ideas or activity ideas that I found have worked for me. I know we're all kind of transitioning right now and trying to figure out this crazy virtual hybrid teaching thing. So these are just some lessons and activities that worked for me, things that you can use with like Google Suite that are engaging and interesting that my students have really enjoyed. So first, a little bit about myself. My name is Megan. My students call me Miss Megan, Mrs. M, Miss Morales, Miss Katz. I just got married, so I answer to a lot of different things. I am a fourth year arts teacher. Right now I teach kindergarten through 8th grade, and I'm soon going to be adding 9th through 12th grade onto that. So that's going to be a big adventure for me, but I teach the whole age span. So I'm having a lot of fun figuring out how to adjust these lessons for different age groups as well. So yeah, let's get started. Let's hop right in. I'm going to talk mostly about Google Suite, so how to use Google Sites and Google Slides, and a little bit of Google Docs. Just some ideas, ways that you can use them for your lessons or for organization. And then I'll also wrap up at the end with a couple of external sites, resources that I found have been very, very helpful. So let's get started.
Okay, so the very first thing that I would like to share with you that has been an absolute lifesaver for me is Google Sites. I have been using this as a way to sort of streamline everything and keep it all in one place. So my school has been using Google Classroom, and it's a great way to, put in grades and keep track of things like that, and use as kind of a homeroom for the students. But Google Sites has been a great way to put the whole lesson in one place so that the students aren't trying to track down multiple documents in Google Classroom or anything like that. So this has just been a great way to keep everything in one place. So we're working on an animation unit right now, and this is the site that we're using for that. I create a different site for each unit. Again, to keep it streamlined and making sense, they can go back and reference information. When we started, we had a video about what animation was, and so if they want to go back and rewatch that or reference some of the information I've included from previous weeks, they can. But it's not getting bogged down with stuff from past units either. So this has just been a great organization system for me. So I'll walk you through the process of creating one of these sites just so you can see what that looks like. So in your Google Drive, I like to create a different folder for each unit because I have multiple classes. You can organize your Google Drive however works best for you. And then you do create new, and they hid sites under more. So you have to go to more and then Google Sites. And this is the default page when you create a new site. So the first thing that I like to do is create the header. It's a good way to engage the kids. It's the first thing that they see when they open up the site. So it's a great way to get them excited about what we're doing. Okay. So I put the class up here because I'm teaching more than one class. And then that automatically titles it. So it's a great way for you to keep track of which class it's for. And then I put the unit title here. Okay, so this is going to be the home page for our unit. And then this banner looks kind of boring and professional, so I'm going to go to change image. If you want to select image, that will let you search the internet. So if you aren't sure where you want to go, this will select an image for you, and it'll automatically make it labeled for reuse, so you don't have to worry about copyright issues or anything like that. I have the image that I want already saved to my computer. So if you do that select image option and you're not seeing something that you like, then you can always go search for something else. Or you can create your own banner image, whatever works best for you. But if it's already on your computer, then you can select upload. So now I've uploaded my header image, and I want to change the theme because the theme looks kind of boring to me. So I'm going to go over here to themes, and then you've got all these different ones that you can pick from. And this will just change like the font or the colors, the different styles of your site. It's still somewhat limited right now, but there's a lot to play with and a lot of different ways that you can experiment with this. So just, figure out what works for you, which one fits your style best. And then you can also change like the primary color of your page. So just little things you can play with. And then from here, you have so many different options. I like to lead with a video. I don't have any face-to-face time with my students. The ones who are still virtual, we're not doing synchronous or anything like that. I don't get to do Zoom calls, so any teaching that I want to do with them, I have to create a video myself. So I've been creating those videos, uploading them to YouTube, or finding resources that are already available, like on Teacher Pay Teachers and stuff like that. But I find that it's engaging if we start with a video, a quick quiz afterwards, just to make sure that they've watched it, and then I put the activity underneath. Okay. So you have all of these different things that you can insert, and you can go in and play with all of those yourself, figure out what works for you. The ones that I've been using most are YouTube and Forms, just because that's what I've been utilizing with my classes. So if you want to insert a YouTube video, it's really simple. You just go here. You can either search for one, or if you've uploaded videos to your own account, you can search there as well. Say I wanted to put this in. I was a dance teacher last year, and so this was my promo that I put together for them. So I'll pick that, and you can adjust the size of this. I like to make it take up, yay much of the page. And then I'll put a text box next to it with a little bit of information about what they're doing with the video. Okay, so then you just put in a text box. It'll automatically stick it underneath. But you have a couple options. You can either attach it to the video, so that'll automatically make your text box the same size as the video, or you can put it next to the video. So you can just click and drag, drop it where you want it. Okay, so if I wanted to put text in here, watch the video, and then information, I'll usually say, when you're done watching, scroll down and take the quiz, or check out the rest of your assignment, or, whatever the rest of the project is. And then you can change the color of this to make it more interesting. So I'm going to do emphasis 2 because this is important. You really want to see it, so that kind of makes it pop. And, you have all of your instructions here. Then we can go down and we can add placeholders. So say, this is the site for all of middle school, but I have quizzes, and I have 7th grade taking a different quiz than 8th grade. So then I can put in 2 placeholders, and you can just, shift these around. You can adjust how big they are, whatever works for you. Google Sites is really nice. It's pretty user-friendly. And so maybe I would put in an image here. I have one for my 7th grade class and one for my 8th grade class. And they know that they click the one for their grade, and this will link to their form. Okay. Okay, so we're going to upload, an image. Say I'm making one for my 7th graders, one for my 8th graders. So, here's my picture for 7th grade. And I just did these really quickly in Sketch.io, which is the Sketchpad app, and I'll talk about that when I'm going over just some resources I've been using. So then what I can do from here is I can add a link. So then what you can do is you can select the image that you want to have linked somewhere and add the link, and then just grab the link from your Google Forms and apply. And so now this will take you to the Google Forms. The other option, if everybody who's using this site is using the same quiz, then you can just go to insert a form, and it'll bring up all of your forms that you have. And so then you can just pick the one that you want to put in. And it'll just drop it. It'll automatically embed it into the page. So then they don't even have to go to an external page to take the quiz. They can just do it right here. So you can make it bigger, you can move it around, put it in the middle, or if you want to have instructions over on the side like you did for the video. Again, it's totally up to you. So those are just a few of the primary things that I use Google Sites for. You can also lay out all the steps of an assignment. So if there's multiple steps or there's more than one link or something like that, you can just create a text box, and then fill it in here. I like to include images, have things for them to click on. So like for we're doing storyboards this week, and we're talking about the process of storyboarding and all that, and they get to create their own hand-drawn 2-second GIF. So you can see I have the different steps. And then because we started hybrid this week, I have some of my students in person, so they actually get a storyboard. And so this is an example of how you can do both. So in Google Classroom, because I wanted everybody to have access to their own copy of the document, that's where I included the document for the storyboard template. And then I'm also handing out in class. So those are things to think about as you're creating this material. And that's why I like Sites, is it puts it all together in one place so that I can easily keep track of, oh, these students did it in person with me. These students are still working on it at home, but they all are getting the same information. They're getting the same documentation. And you can also embed sites or slides. So I have this slideshow of examples from like Disney and Pixar and DreamWorks. So things for them to look at. And then I like to include images with all of my instructions just to kind of break it up and make it more engaging. Okay. So that's how I use Sites. And then you can see I have a different page for each section of this that we're going over. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is Google Slides. I am in love with Google Slides. It's been my go-to because it's a great way to give the students information while allowing them to interact with it. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new presentation here. And the first thing that I found is that it's super easy to make your presentations look exciting and look more engaging. So, when you first see it, it's just black words on a white page and it looks really boring, but you don't need to worry about any fancy themes or anything like that. You can make this engaging and related to your content very, very easily. And so the way that I do that is primarily backgrounds. Okay. So again, we're talking about storyboarding this week. So I'm going in, I just add a background and choose an image. And because storyboards are often, the pictures are push pinned onto a bulletin board, that's what I went with for my background. Okay. So I'm just going to upload it. I already found a fun little bulletin board background that I saved to my computer. And so I'm just going to upload that. And it just adds it to the back. And then the kids, they can't mess with it. It's attached to the slide. But it looks cool, right? And so right now it looks kind of boring because it's just the bulletin board. But then you can add sticky notes and you can add fun fonts, right? The trick I found with fonts is to make sure that they're easy to read, but they're still engaging. And so there are a lot of cool font options that come with the Google Suite. And so you can just look and see, which one works for you. I teach K through 8th grade, and so, I find I have a little bit more flexibility with the 6th, 7th, and 8th graders because their reading level is higher. But especially when I'm working with the little ones, I like stuff. I like to use ones that are they're still very, very easy to read, but they look kind of like handwriting because it makes it feel more, personal. So, find the one that works for you. You can always go up to more fonts, and they have a ton that are available that just haven't been added to the default. So, figure out what works for you. And then, you can put the title of your project or, whatever you want it to be. And then you can either duplicate this slide or you can just add a new slide and then add the background. But I like to right click on it and then duplicate slide, and that way I don't have to worry about re-adding the background. I can just, delete this text. So then I did a Google search for a transparent sticky note image. And so I have that saved to my computer, so then you can upload it. And I love, Google Images has been my best friend because you can find pretty much anything there. And so now, I've got these really cool transparent sticky notes, and I can leave it like this if I wanted to do that, or you can crop it down. Maybe I want to use this. I have a video on one side and I want to leave cute little notes. Instead of just doing big blocks of text, I can put these sticky notes on there, and now it looks cool and engaging. And so then I just put a text box over each sticky note, make sure to rotate it. So, I'll type in my information. You can change the font to make it look like handwriting because, it's a sticky note and you want to, run with that theme. I like to make it bigger because that makes it easier to read. And then you just grab this little dot and rotate it so that it matches the angle. And I like to center it, but that's totally up to you. Okay. It's also really, really easy to insert videos. So, if you have informational videos that you want to share with the students, I find that it's more engaging for them if we break it up. So, you have a slide that has some images and some text, but then you have a slide that has a 1 to 3 minute video. So you can just go to insert and video, and then you can either do one if you have it saved to your Google Drive, or you can do a YouTube video. So you can just search for the video that you want, or if you already have one pulled up, you can find the URL and then, just drop it in. And there you go. You can adjust where it starts. So maybe this is a 10-minute video and I don't want them to watch the whole 10 minutes. So I would start it at, wherever the information is that I want them to have and all of that fun stuff. You can adjust where it is on the slide, or how big it is if you want to add text to the side or use those sticky notes, anything like that. Maybe I wanted to use the sticky notes to add information to the side of it. So I can just copy this and paste it in here. And then I can use the crop image to just say I just want the blue one. So then I would crop it down so that the blue one is the only one that we can see. Hit enter. And if you're using PowerPoint instead of slides, a lot of this is very, very similar. You may just have, different sets of fonts, but for the most part, the controls are the same. And then I would, add my text in here. So this is if you want to use slides to just send information to the students, just as a way that's a little bit more engaging and breaks it up more than just listening to you lecture for 10 minutes or 15 minutes or whatever. But the other cool thing that I found you can do with slides is you can use it as a way to create a drag and drop activity so that you can use it as an assessment tool or an engaging, more interactive lesson. So this is an example of how I used slides as an activity with my younger students. This was a K3 activity that I gave them. And so I have, my title page that just tells them what this is. We were talking about setting and creating backgrounds. And so there's a brief video that gives them some information about it and a slide that reiterates the main point of what we're talking about. And I'm including audio because this is my younger students. They can't all read yet. So I included an audio clip of myself just reading off what's on the slide for those students whose reading level isn't quite here yet. And that's really easy to do if you go to insert and then audio and just upload a track, an MP3 file of yourself or, whatever audio you want to include. And then we had this sorting activity. So what I did is I created in the slide, I'll kind of walk you through what I did here. So I used a table to create the background there. So I put a little banner image here. So, we say the title of what it is. So then I inserted a table. And I did a 3x2. And you just kind of want to drag it to the size you want it to be. So then I would say here, this is setting, this is not setting, and then you merge these two. So you select them both, merge cells, and then I like to add a fun background color just to make it a little bit more engaging. And then, you adjust the font and all that. And then what you do is you download and then the current slide as either a JPEG or PNG. And then I like to duplicate it just so that I have a backup in case something goes wrong. But then what I do is I delete everything on the slide. And then I take the PNG image that I just downloaded and I drop it in and I add it as the background. So this makes sure that the students aren't moving around anything that I don't want them to move around. And make sure that if you're giving them this, you do not embed it in a Google site. This is one of the few times when you don't want to do that. Instead, in Google Classroom, you want to attach it onto the assignment and choose the setting that everybody gets their own copy. And so that way they're not messing with each other's copies. They just have one that's for them. And so then what you would do is I've got my images that I want them to sort. You just go into the one where it's the background and drop in your pictures. You can, once everything uploads correctly, you can delete the extra one. And so then you go in and you add in all the images that you want them to be able to move, and then just leave these on top so they can manipulate them. Okay, so you just want to make sure that the slideshow isn't presented when they get it, because otherwise they won't be able to move those pictures. But if you just give them each their own that they can play with, then they go in, they can say, oh, this one is not a setting, this one is a setting, so on and so forth. You can also use this for matching activities. It's the same concept, just design your background, set it as the background to the slide, and then you can put in the pictures on top of the background that you want them to be able to manipulate. Or you can use it as kind of a free choice activity. So I gave them this basic background that they could build on top of, and then they could decide whether they wanted it to be daytime or nighttime, or what season they wanted it to be, things like that. So this is especially great for those younger students, and as a way to, you can use this to assess as well. So lots of flexibility with that activity. Okay, so the last thing I wanted to talk about in slides is this choose your own adventure game, because my kids had so much fun with this. I used it as a way to talk about character with my younger drama students, but you can really use this to talk about pretty much anything. You can design it to be a trip through history where they can meet, they get to pick which historical figure they want to talk to. You can use it as a way to talk about science or talk about color schemes or whatever fits the unit. just get creative with it. And they get to have a little bit of independence and autonomy over what their adventure is, but they're still receiving that information. So for this one, I wanted them to be thinking about what goes into developing a character. What do we want to think about when we're designing a character? But it's very, very flexible. So this was a background that I created in GIMP, which is like it's very similar to Photoshop. So you can, again, you have all of that flexibility to create your own backgrounds, and this is just set as the background on this slide. And then the cool thing that you can do is you can link to other slides within the slideshow. So I'm just going to present this just so you can see what it looks like as a quick walkthrough. So what I've done is I've linked each slide to another slide within the slideshow. So this one is just linked to the next one. And I put that link in here on the book, so I can click on the book and it'll take me to the next slide. And then I can pick whether I want to do a pirate journey or a spy journey. So you can make this, whatever you want your options to be. And what you do is you insert the images, and then you would link each image to its corresponding slide. So if I wanted to do my spy journey, I would click on that, and then I get to, pick one of these. So you get the deal. And so this is just a lot of being creative and figuring out what information you want them to think about. It's a good way to maybe introduce a new concept to kind of get them thinking about whatever the concept is, and getting more interest in it because it's their own adventure and it's something that they're making choices about. And then later on, you can introduce the rest of the information. And so the only thing to keep track of here is really, keeping track of which slide each image goes to. But yeah, what you can do is you create the slide. I have one picture for my pirates and one picture for my spies. And then you just select the image. And then you would go to insert link. And this already has next slide applied. But yeah, what you do is, if I were to clear this, you just look at the slides in the presentation and you pick which one you want it to go to. So, I want it to go to slide 3, and then I would apply. And it's that simple. So you create all of your different options, and then you figure out which one links to which slides. And it's a little bit time consuming depending on how long you want to make it, but my students had so much fun with this. So to kind of hop over into Google Docs, there's not a ton that I wanted to talk about here, but I did want to mention, you can use it as a way to journal, as a way to keep track of written information. This document went along with that Choose Your Own Adventure activity that they did. And so this was a way for me to have them record their answers. They could see everything that they should be thinking about. And it was a great way to keep it all in one place. And again, the cool thing about anything that you create in Google, whether it's slides or docs or Excel, if you wanted to use a spreadsheet, is that if you're using Google Classroom and you attach it into Google Classroom, then you have an option where it says there should be a drop-down menu right next to the document that you attach, where it says students can view file. If you click on that, there is an option where it says each student gets their own copy, and that way they can go in and edit it and add things, and they're not messing with your master copy of it. So the other really cool thing that I like about Docs is that you can use it as a way to help students stay on top of things. Maybe if you have a multi-step project. So this one was for a project that we did that spanned over a couple of weeks. And so there were multiple due dates. And so I created this checklist for them, and then they can go in. This is just a bullet. So, when you create your list, have the bullets, and you just select the checklist option here. So then what they can do is you click on the bullet, and then you click on the one that you want to do again, and then you right click, and it lets you switch it into something else. So that way, once they finish things, they can go through and check it off. And it's also a way that you can include any links that they may need for the activity. It's all there in one place. So that's what I like Docs as a way to help keep them accountable. So just a couple of ideas for that. All right, so I just want to go over a couple of external resources I found that have been really helpful and that the students have really enjoyed. The first one is toytheater.com. There are all kinds of different resources. So we use this for when we talked about designing a set or a background. You can use this to talk about, so we used this build one when we designed a set together. But if you go into this art tab, there are all kinds of different options. There's animation, there's an animation sticker game. You can talk about, if you just want to have coloring pages, you can give them coloring pages. You can talk about different artists and their backgrounds, or, just kind of give them an early exposure. Each of these doodles, it basically pulls up different famous paintings from different artists, and it lets the students kind of interact with them. They can circle things, or they can draw on them, or, it's a good way to introduce this artwork, to let them kind of play around with it and see how it speaks to them. So lots of different options. And there's also, different subjects as well. If you're a music teacher, or if you want to incorporate things like math or reading into your class, this is a great way to do that, because it's a great way to just introduce different ideas and different concepts. So lots of different cool games in here. I love it. I've used several different things off of it. The only downside to this is that there's no easy way to save things. So for instance, when we were in the build game, once the students had built their set, they had to take a screenshot of it. So make sure, especially if your students are asynchronous or they're virtual, that they know how to take a screenshot if you want to use this. That's a quick YouTube search, how to take a screenshot on a Chromebook or something like that. And you can just really easily walk them through that. So this is the Sketchpad app, and this has been another lifesaver. There's a little bit of a learning curve for the younger students. It has this automatic fill option, so you have to show them how to turn that off if they want to just do lines. But overall, there's some great tools in here. You can insert your own images. My older students did a graphic novel project, and so this was a great way for them to design their own backgrounds, or if they had an image of a character that they had created that they wanted to put on top of their background, it was a great way to do that. So it's just sketchpad.app, and if you haven't used this yet, this is a great tool, especially for easy sketches, or any kind of drawing that you want your students to do and be able to do from home without having to worry about taking a picture and submitting it that way, because it's really easy for them to just go to export and save it to their computer. So I have found that this has been a really great resource for me. And the last resource that I want to chat about is Brush Ninja. So you can just type brush.ninja into your URL bar, and it'll bring you here. And this is just a quick animation I did. So Brush Ninja is basically like a flipbook animation type program. And all of these ones that I'm showing you, they're free, they're online, they don't require any kind of login or special account or anything. And so I love that it's really quick and easy for the students to be able to use them that way. It's a really simple, just flipbook animation. But I like that this one, it allows for onion skinning. So if you have the onion skin selected here, you can see all of the different steps where the animation will be or has been. And that's really, really helpful when you're teaching something like, traditional hand-drawn animation. And then you have all the different frames here at the bottom. And I like that you also have this duplicate frame option. So say I did one where I had a background that I wanted to stay consistent, like I did for this. What I did was I drew the background, I duplicated it however many times I knew I was going to want, and then you go back and you draw your animation over that. And so it's really easy, it's very user-friendly, and my students have been really enjoying this one so far. So, and then again, it's really easy for them to export it as an animated GIF that they can then upload into Google Classroom or whatever software you're using with your students.
And that's it. Thanks so much for joining me. So this has just been kind of an overview of what I've been doing as I've been adjusting to this crazy online adventure thing. I've been having a lot of fun being creative and figuring out what works and what doesn't, how to continue to be engaging to the students. And now the next step is to figure out how to make it work both virtually and in person, because we're now in this hybrid model. So how to provide material like I have been for the storyboarding project this week, material that I can provide in class but also online, continuing to be available to the students via email or Google Classroom, but adjusting my expectations so that I know, okay, the students who are in person, maybe they won't watch all of the videos because I'm providing them that information in the classroom, but still providing it for my online students. So figuring out ways like using Google Sites to streamline everything and make sure that I know everything that's happening with all my students. So yeah, that's where we're at right now. If you have any questions about anything that you saw in here, maybe you have comments or you just want to see what I'm up to, you can check me out, Miss Megan's Adventures on Instagram. I would love to hear from you there. You can send me a message and just let me know your thoughts, or if you have questions about anything, you want clarification, I'm happy to chat with you. And so something else to consider is that all of the art staff at my school have been creating their curriculum completely from scratch. We don't have anything handed to us. So part of that process has been figuring out how to make things engaging and interesting, and modify some of the stuff that I would normally do, because this is traditionally, when we're in person, it looks very different and it looks like a very different class. So a big part of what I've been doing as I'm adjusting to online is incorporating multiple different subjects, and I'm really trying to push this interdisciplinary learning kind of thing. So, incorporating art, but also drama and music, or some of my projects where you talked about science and math and things that they're doing in their homeroom class. Really building relationships with those homeroom teachers so that we know we're all on the same page and my class is supporting what they're doing in their class as well. So if you have any questions about that, any thoughts, you want to see kind of what I've been doing with that, I'd be happy to chat with you about that as well. So yeah, thanks so much for joining me, and I wish you all the best.